Hi, Lynn. Thanks for joining us on the podcast.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm such a big fan of the swim talk and I'm excited to be here.
Oh, it's great. I'm really happy to be speaking to you. Where are you based in the US?
So I live in Los Angeles, California, so Southern California, but I grew up most of my life in Texas. I grew up in the Houston area and I still, well, pre-COVID, I would travel to Texas all the time. Now, of course, travel looks a little different, although I still am getting back as often as I can. And in fact, last year I spent about 40% of the year in Texas and 60% of the year in California. So although I live and work in California, I travel a lot for my job and I travel a lot for my personal life. So California and Texas are the two states I most identify with.
Oh, wow. And are they similar or very different sort of mindsets?
That's such a good question. Uh, I think ideologically, mindset wise, they're very different places. But I think there's actually a lot of similarities between Los Angeles and Houston in terms of sort of urbanicity. Like LA is very spread out, it's very sprawling, it's a very car and driving focused city, and that's true of Houston too.
Right.
They're both very populous, they're very diverse. They're both really good food towns, which is great because I have a big appetite. I've been able to find some similarities that make LA feel a bit more like home. But yeah, I think in terms of culture, they're very different.
Yes, yeah. That's from an outsider's perspective. That's what I sort of view them as. So that's really interesting to hear that. What part of LA are you in?
So I live in West LA, Culver City, for anyone who
Right.
travels to Los Angeles and knows the area. Not far from the beach, and also not far from the airport.
Nice. Oh, very nice place to be. And when and where did you get your last swim in?
So mere minutes ago, I emerged from the water to join you on the podcast. So today, and I was so excited to get it in. It's one of those things on, during the weekdays. I never know exactly when I'm going to be able to swim, but I always try to be consistent, especially early in the week, and get it done. And I'm really fortunate. I'm a university professor. That's what I do for work. And we have a school, a pool rather, at my school. So I can swim oftentimes before I teach my classes, or sometimes after if I'm really running a bit late, and then go about my day.
Yeah. Do you do most of your swimming solo, or do you train with a squad or masters club?
So I do a lot of my swims on my own. I am a part of a team. So I swim with a group, Southern California Aquatics, or SCAC, we call ourselves.
Yep.
And I make it to a few workouts a week with the group. We're a huge team, though. I mean, I'd have to Google it to be sure that this is true, but I think we may be the largest masters swim team in the US, or
Yeah.
something like that. So we have a number of pools all over the greater Los Angeles area that we practice out of, but one of them is the city pool in my neighborhood.
Right.
So it was very convenient for me. And when I was first dipping my toe back into swimming, if you'll forgive the pun, uh, going to a master swim workout and swimming with other people was a big goal for me. So I accomplished that in August of 2021. And since then I've been going with the group a couple of times a week, but it's tough. I have another job outside of my teaching. I consult. And so I travel a lot with my consulting practice all over the country. And oftentimes I'm swimming at whatever pool may be open in the city that I'm in. And sometimes it's a very small pool in my hotel, or an unusually shaped one. So I tend to do a lot of my workouts by myself so that I can make sure that I'm getting done what I want to do on my own time. And it's also a little bit less expensive for me to swim at the school, the pool school, the school pool, um, because I have access to it as part of my job, and I've got to pay per workout with the master's group, so trying to be a bit budget conscious there too.
Yeah. Oh, that's a really interesting perspective. And when you're traveling and having to find yourself in a hotel pool, do you swim off a tether or do you just do small, short laps?
A bit of both, depending on the pool.
Yep.
So I'll bring a tether if I know it's going to be a particularly small pool. And I've actually modified the tether that I have. I've gotten a dog leash just from a local store so that I have a bit more extension and I can vary the speeds. I've found that's easier on my shoulders when I'm swimming with a tether than just going against the stretch cord the whole time. Sometimes I'll do some silly sets, like I may try to hold my breath down and back 3 times underwater, or just work on a breaststroke pullout, which I'm possibly the world's least accomplished breaststroker. So that's always a challenge for me, just to make it across even a small pool. I've tried to find hotels, if and when I can, that have a lap lane so that I can truly do what I want to do. And I've even joined, if I know there's a place where I'll be traveling frequently enough during the quarter or the year, I'll join a local YMCA or something like that and make use of their pool. So I'll do a little bit of everything, whatever it takes to sort of keep myself consistent. And I don't really have a plan. The plan is to just try to get wet as often as I can.
That sounds good. It's a nice plan because not only does that keep you fit and back in the water, it's great for mental health as well, isn't it?
Oh, it is. That's the thing. I swam when I was young and I'm back now, whatever it means to be back. And I thought that it was going to be physical, that I would have to, lift the weights and work so hard and eat the grilled chicken. But it's more psychological than I remember. It's all about the mental, and it can be hard work mentally swimming and doing the workouts, but the benefits you get from it, there's nothing compares.
Nothing compares.
Nothing.
No.
Yeah,
I think there's never a bad workout. There's never a bad swim.
exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Even sometimes the ones that you're flustered that you didn't make the interval you wanted, or maybe your muscles feel tired or something. Sometimes those are the most rewarding. You leave the pool with just this sense of joy.
Yeah. And I know you just mentioned being a swimmer when you were younger. Tell us about that. How did you get into swimming and what level did you get up to when you were younger?
Yeah, so I started swimming when I was very young. I think I learned to swim when I was about 3 or so. I was living in Canada with my family, and my mom just took my sister and I to the local, community rec pool and taught us to swim. I think just so we would feel comfortable in the water. And I loved it. I loved it ever since. I started racing. We'd moved to Texas by the time I was 5, and so back in the U.S. and I swam on a summer team when I was 5, 6, 7 years old every summer. And I started swimming year round around probably the 6th grade. I was 12 years old. And that's when I think I got serious about swimming, as serious as you can be about anything when you're 12 years old. And I would swim every day after school, and I would go to competitions, and I would in the summers, you would go to maybe a university and go to a swim camp, and the college students would teach you stroke technique. And it was this wonderful experience. And I really loved it uh, until I sort of felt a bit out of place, I suppose. I don't really know the answer to the question, what level did I get to? Maybe almost very fast would be the answer. I was fast enough to be recruited by Division 1 teams in the U.S., but not any of the big schools, smaller D1 programs. Or I was fast enough to set state records, but only as part of a relay. Or fast enough to make like a state level championship time, but just sort of missing something like a sectionals, which is kind of a big thing. But nearly there, hundredths or tenths away. And I swam mostly freestyle events. I anything from the 50 to 1650, or I guess 1500 in meters. Was sort of my favorite thing. And if I had to swim a stroke, it would be butterfly, maybe backstroke too. Again, anything but breaststroke for me.
I'm with you there.
I admire breaststrokers.
So do I.
Their strength and how they do it. It'll never be me, and I've made my peace with that. Even now, it's a struggle to the end, but it's beautiful to watch people who know how to do it. And I swam for a semester, almost a semester of college. And that was sort of when I don't know if fell out of love with swimming is the right way to put it, but um, I really liked college. I loved the university experience. I was so excited about studying. I kind of found my inner nerd, and I really wanted to be in the library all the time and at office hours and meeting with the professors and doing research. And it just interested me so much. And I found that there weren't enough hours in the day to take the classes I wanted to take, study as rigorously as I wanted to study, get involved in the academic life on campus, do leadership things on campus, and swim. And I'd gotten sick. All of my roommates and I caught mono,
Oh,
and
no.
right, a classic university tale, right? And so I'd had a week or two where I wasn't able to go to swim practice. And even though I was feeling better, I still was not allowed to go lest I get anyone else sick. And that was the week that I had time to study the way I wanted to, and I just loved it. And it was a difficult decision for me because swimming had been my identity since I was a very young kid. But it sort of felt like the right thing to just leave. And at the time, I think I believed this narrative that I now know isn't true. But I believed that there were only sort of two things. There was swimming or not swimming. You could do the intense, full-time job of swimming and the weightlifting and the nutrition and constant focus. Or if you didn't do that, you weren't a swimmer anymore. And so from that day on, I wasn't a swimmer anymore. Maybe every once in a while, I might suit up and swim a lap or two, but I really just restricted myself to doing other things. And I did stay really serious about my academics. I went on to get a master's and then a PhD. And like I said, I'm a university professor now, so I still study and do research every day.
Yep.
And I love it. But I've found that now I have the time, or maybe I don't know, the time management skills maybe to do a little bit of both. And it was in the sort of height of the pandemic. Once restrictions began to ease a bit where I lived, the only thing open was the city pools, this huge outdoor pool. And they were doing one swimmer per lane, only 40-minute swim sessions, and you had to line up and have your temperature taken and go in. And I thought, okay, I'll go do that. No time like now to get the lungs a pumping. And it was humbling. In that 40 minutes, I couldn't swim 1,000 yards, which would have been laughable to 18-year-old Lynn. But over the weeks, I was sometimes lucky enough to win the lottery and get 3 swims a week at 40 minutes each. And so I would do that and try to work it around my Zoom calls for my various jobs. And over time, I've built it up. And today I swam 5,800 yards, and it was an easy practice for me.
Wow. Yeah, that's a wonderful journey. I love the fact that you've found rediscovered your love for swimming, because I think a lot of sort of teenage or age group swimmers have that same kind of story, and get to college or maybe even swim through college and then it ends, and you're right, you don't know what you can do with your swimming because it was so intense and there's no other option there. And that's why it's great to rediscover it and sort of get into that master swimming world, which is, as you say, you can make it anything you want. You know,
Exactly. And
yeah,
it's amazing. I mean, there's so much more than just dropping time. And there's that too.
yeah,
There are master swimmers, and I think I'm among them now, that are looking to drop time or meet time standards, or set records or win medals. But there's also amazing master swimmers that are doing fun and funky things, like swimming the mile butterfly in a competition, or just trying to swim every event in each age group before they age up, or traveling with friends they haven't seen in 20 years or more, and just being together at competitions or having an excuse to see the world. And it's neat to think about other goals you can have besides just being hard on yourself
Yeah.
and dropping those tenths. Although, I mean, again, I'm still interested in dropping time, and
Yeah.
that's been maybe one of the fun things about being a newbie masters swimmer is that it's easy for me to drop time now because I haven't been doing it very long.
Yeah.
So I sort of set the bar, and then I can continue meeting it. And I feel very much like I did when I was in sixth grade, and I was getting into it, and it was still all very new, and it is new. There's new ways to do turns now. The
Yeah.
starts are different. The blocks have these little vented angles on the back of them that I don't remember being there. The tech suit, I mean, all of these things are very different than I remember from my day. So I really am in some ways learning a lot of new technique, and there's new philosophies of training. And I think even being an older swimmer, I'm not even really that old, but there's different things I have to do for myself. When I was a kid, I didn't have to, you eat candy and you drink a soda and you swim a race and you drop time. And now it's like if I don't drink a glass of water every morning, I'm dying.
Yeah. Exactly. I love hearing the excitement in your voice about it. Since you've been back in the water swimming again, have you done any competed in any competitions?
I've done two so far. So I wanted the first meet I did, it would be the first meet I was doing in 14 years, which felt, I don't know, dramatic to me at the moment. So I wanted it to be at a pool that had some gravitas. So I found a competition that was hosted, a master's competition hosted at Arizona State University. And I thought, oh, good, it'll be this beautiful pool. And I got there and it just blew me away with how beautiful it really was. And it was it was the best entry into master swimming I think I could have hoped for. There were, 90-year-olds diving in off the blocks, but then also Olympic champion Ryan Held was there competing. It was just this mishmash of everybody who loves swimming. And although I was a bit nervous that this would be my first competition in quite a while, the sort of, I don't want to say post-pandemic, but whatever it is that we're in now era, nobody had swam in a few years in a competition. So I wasn't alone in feeling a bit nervous getting up there. So it was good. It was a short course meters uh, pool, which was also nice because growing up and swimming in the U.S., I really only remember my times in short course yards. So it felt nice to not be racing old Lynn. I was racing a Lynn that didn't know what these times were even about.
Yep.
And it was a lot of fun. My husband came to support me, and he was there in full camera geek mode, strapped in with a camera backpack and just documenting every race. And I did one other competition locally here. They called it the pentathlon. The format was a hoot. I don't know if this is a common format or not, but you have to do all 50s of every stroke and then also the 100 IM. And the swimmer in your age group with the lowest total combined time wins. And again, the breaststroke, oof, it got me. It got me, but I did well. I got second overall in my age group and felt so excited just to meet other local master swimmers from different teams and have a bit of fun. And I'm hoping to do one more competition this spring in Texas, of course. So I'm looking forward to that. We'll see if maybe I can drop some time it'll be yards, but from the converted times of what I did at Arizona State.
Yeah. And there's US Spring Nationals coming up? Will you go along to them?
Oh, gee. So I don't plan to. I'd thought about it, and I think initially it was a goal for me to sort of make the time standards, and I made them at that first meet in all my events. I swam at Arizona State, which was great, and a nice little ego boost to feel like, oh, good, I've made the times. But the timing of the meet just isn't. It's not great for my work life and my personal life. So there's a different meet that's in Houston, my hometown, a couple of weeks earlier, and I think I'm gonna do that and see if I can't corral my family, to my in-laws and my parents and my sister, to come go to a swim meet all day.
I'm sure they'd love to support you.
I think it'll be a lot of fun.
So how far do you tend to swim in your workouts these days when you're swimming by yourself?
Yeah, there's been a lot of variability. I think if you would have caught me, if we had this conversation 100 days ago, it would have been very different. Maybe 100 days from now, it'll be different still. Initially, I could barely get by, right? Whatever I could do to fill those fateful 40 minutes. And now I have more unrestricted time. I'm not limited to the 40-minute sessions, and also my body can handle a bit more. So I've been kind of upping my game a little bit. Every couple of weeks I'll add on a few hundred yards to my sort of average. I'm swimming between like 5,000 and 5,800 yards about 6 days a week now.
Right. Oh, that's great. And are you doing any strength training at all, or just the pool?
So I've been inspired by your podcast to start some strength training, because it seems like guest after guest that you have on keeps saying the secret sauce is their strength training. So I'll listen to the podcast and I'll try to do 25 crunches or a push up or something like that. It's hard for me because I don't have a lot of sort of mental motivation to push myself outside of staring at the black line. For some reason, it's just
Yeah,
so much harder for me.
I
And
hear.
I don't know if you experience that too.
I do. And I always with my strength training, when I do it and I finish it, I think that's great. But I always have this little sort of seed of guilt in me that I'm not doing it as it's not a cardio activity. And I always feel that a workout has to be
Yes.
cardio. And I know I need to get out of that mindset, but I find it very, very hard. Even
Yes.
though
Oh my
I try.
gosh. I'm trapped in the same way of thinking. And it's, I'm a heart rate junkie, right? I want to feel that I've done something. And even swim workouts where I'm trying to do more of a recovery, or, I just need to stretch out and swim out. I almost feel like they don't quote count. But they do, and I'm trying to get past that. We're our own worst enemy. But yeah, I'm trying to do a bit, and I'm learning. One of the things that is funny about all of this is, even though I was a fairly experienced swimmer when I retired, I didn't ever really have ownership in my training plan. I just sort of did what the coach said. And so now that I'm essentially a self-coached swimmer, trying to, yeah, perhaps beat some lifetime best times here in a minute. Um, uh, I'm building the plane as I fly it. I have no idea if what I'm doing is correct, or if there even is a correct. There are people that have had success doing this so many different ways. And for some people, you'll hear them, it's all about the dry land and minimal swimming, and others are, very traditional. It's about the long yards, and you've got to do it. There is no garbage yardage. It all matters. And I'm just gonna see what happens in April at my meet. And if I swim faster than I swam in November, then I'll know that what I've done between November and April worked. And if I don't, then perhaps it didn't. And I'll change it up maybe either way.
Yeah.
But I have no idea if I should be resting before the meet, or if I should stop doing my sad little crunches. I don't know.
What do you want to sort of accomplish from your return to the pool? Have you got a sort of a goal down the line, or is it just a
Mm,
meet to meet that you're thinking at the moment?
yeah, I have so many goals. Some of which I feel like I've already accomplished and I just need to maintain, and others which are so many years off. I think that although this sounds a bit silly to say, my goal was sort of to take back control of my happiness and have a life that I'm joyful about. And perhaps it's because those first few sessions were, you literally had to win a community lottery to get slots to swim at the pool. And so each time I got it, I was so excited. And it was this contrast, this stark contrast from the drudgery that I remember my last few months that I had been swimming, where I was so all I wanted to do was, uh, you know, hang out with my friends, or study for my big test, and I had to go to swim practice and I was dragging my feet. And now it's joyful. And it's wonderful to have cultivated this lifestyle that I feel happy about and excited about every day. And that's maybe the highest goal I could ever achieve. And I want to just maintain that for the rest of my life. I'm also tremendously inspired by all of the master swimmers who are in age groups older than me that are balancing these incredible training plans that are much more rigorous than anything I can physically do at the moment, and are loving it as well. So I guess just having this lifelong journey of swimming and improving my fitness my whole life, and I guess maybe a bit more, see, now I sound like I am from California. This is all a little woo woo, but I I think time wise, I'd set out to swim a meet and then swim a second meet and improve my times from that. And now I think I'm setting the bar a bit higher for myself. I'm going to swim lifetime best times in all my events. I can do it. People have done it. I've heard them on your podcast.
Yes,
So why not me?
that's right.
So I'm going to do it. I don't know how long it'll take me. I imagine a while longer. I don't think my next meet will be the meet, but it'll happen soon. I'll keep you posted. But yeah, that's it. I'm going to swim lifetime best times.
I love that answer. I love it. That's great. And I can just tell by talking to you, you have so much excitement and it makes you so happy. And I think that that's just the joy of swimming to me. And that's what I love talking about with people on the podcast, just what their personal relationship is to the water and that kind of sense of joy that it brings them.
Yes, yes. And it's, I'm certain there must be swimmers at all levels that have this, but it's ubiquitous in the masters community.
I agree.
Nobody's making you go,
No.
right? You chose this. You willfully are here before or after work or on your lunch break or whatever it is, and it's your favorite part of the day. And we all have that. When you're young, or even when you're an elite swimmer and you have a sponsor who's flying you across the world to swim, it's your job. But this is your joy away from your job in many ways, and that's just incredibly fun.
Yeah. I think more people need to come and drink the Kool-Aid.
Yes, yes, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah. I think you've got huge numbers of master swimmers in the US. I think it's something like 60,000 plus registered swimmers. So, and we've got per capita sort of similar numbers, but it is a huge movement around the world. And people, when you travel, I've been to one or two sort of international meets, and
Ooh.
and people are still the same, even if there's a language barrier. They are so happy to be there, and loving racing, loving the community. And it is a very supportive community, the master swimming community.
Yes, I found that too, even in my short time being a part of it, that everybody's happy for each other for hitting their goals, whatever those goals may be. And those goals may simply be showing up. They may be improving technique, improving time. Even on my own team that I'm a part of, it's all levels. There are people that come to our workouts that are first time swimmers, beginning swimmers. And then there are also people that have been to the highest levels of swimming. It's truly all levels. And there's a ton of beauty in that.
I agree. Yeah, it's wonderful. I think you and I sound like we're both master swimming devotees.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, and that's, I mean, not to fangirl too much, but that's one of the reasons I love your pod so much, is that there's a real dearth of swimming media that's dedicated to the unique masters community.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's how I started the podcast during COVID, when I was doing a lot of walking because that's all I could do. And I was trying to find swimming podcasts. And I was listening to Brett Hawke's one, which is obviously very popular, but he speaks to all the world champions and Olympians. And I thought after a while, I love this, but I want to hear from people my age and my, master swimmers, and what are they doing? Because they've got great stories too. Because like you, I'm at a club and we've got world champions who are in their late 80s and they're so inspirational. And then we've also got younger swimmers who have just finished school and are swimming with us as well, and they're super fast. but it's just lovely. And the fact that all of those people can be there and meet for a coffee afterwards and have something to chat about because they have that mutual love of swimming.
Yes.
I think it's a lovely community.
And, I haven't really been immersed in many other sports communities. So perhaps I'm speaking out of turn here, but I'm not aware of any other sports that have this, where people are just sort of lifelong, all levels, but tremendously passionate about it. It's very cool.
Yeah, it is cool. And speaking of things that are cool, I'm a big follower of your Instagram page, which I love
Oh,
the name of.
shucks.
I love the name of it, social influence. It's cool. What made you come up with the idea to document your master swimming journey?
Well, I think part of it was because I began this journey alone, and completely isolated. I hadn't, convinced myself to join a team yet, and I was just sort of swimming laps to see if I could still do it. And I thought one day, I wonder if I'm even doing this right, if my technique even still looks right, and I don't want to practice all these hours that I'll do over various 40-minute sessions and do it wrong. So I thought I'll bring my phone, and I just took my camera phone and I put Velcro on the back of it and then Velcroed it to the side of my water bottle so that it would line up and I could see myself sort of going back and forth down the pool. And eventually I graduated to an underwater camera and just began documenting more of my technique for myself. And I thought, well, perhaps I'll share a little bit of it. I mean, who would care? But it'll be good for me to kind of memorialize that I've done it. And in the process, a lot of you being one of them, and numerous other people as well. Um, Swimmers from across the world have become sort of my virtual teammates on
Yeah,
Instagram, and I see their workout progress, or they'll share what they're up to, and I'll share things, and we can all sort of support each other. And it's remarkable because I have a team in California, but I swim alone a lot, and so feeling like somebody else has witnessed that I did it makes me more likely to go do it,
yeah,
especially on the days where I'm busy and I just don't know if I can fit it in. It keeps me a bit accountable, and it's just sort of fun to be a part of the group. And it's been nice to learn a little bit of photography skills. I don't really fancy myself a photographer, but it's nice to try to get some underwater shots and see if I can compose the photo in a way that captures kind of the essence of what I was working on that day.
yeah. No, you've got some lovely shots on there. I particularly like the series you're doing at the moment, sort of in tribute to female swimmers that have inspired you. What made you come up with that idea?
Oh, thank you so much. That's been a lot of fun. So there were kind of numerous things that came together to make the series crystallize in my mind. One of them, I mentioned, my husband has been sort of supporting my swim journey, and he has two hobbies that are really handy for a swimmer. The first is he's a photographer, and the second is he's an excellent cook. And so he's been sort of feeding me as my appetite has increased and helping take pictures, especially at those competitions that I've been to, and has really enjoyed having a reason to get out and take some sports photography. And so I was thinking about different things we could do together, that I could be swimming and that he could be helping me get some interesting shots. And then with Women's History Month coming up, and a lot of the things I've been thinking through about how these Instagram people really are my virtual teammates. Why not broaden my virtual teammate library to people that are some of whom are historic and no longer alive, and others of whom just live in other parts of the country or other parts of the world that I don't know, but I know through their stories, and bring that inspiration to other people. So we've been trying to get sort of shot for shot reenactments of kind of iconic photos of these ladies. And then I've done my research on sort of highlights of their career or their accomplishments. And most of them are people that maybe I've read an interview with them, and kept the clipping of that in my sort of swim journal to inspire me. And if I'm feeling a bit down one day, I might read it and go through it. So they're people who I think about often.
Yeah, I love that. That's really good. Well, they're very, very inspirational. I particularly like the black and white shot of the I can't remember her name, the first one that you put up.
Oh, yes, yes. The 1926 Channel crossing.
Yeah.
And I'm not really an open water swimmer, but Gertrude's story really strikes me because there's so much about her that's really pioneering. I mean, from the costume she created to the training she did, and being so brave to get out in the open water. I struggle to put my face in. I'm hoping this summer I might get a bit more brave with open water, but that remains to be seen. So she particularly inspires me.
Yeah, I do a little bit of open water over the summer break, but I do prefer the pool. Um, and when pools were closed in Melbourne where I live, we did a bit of swimming during winter in the bay, Port Phillip Bay, which was 9 degrees, which was,
Oh my gosh.
ooh, was cold. But yeah, we made sure we thermaled up with caps and gloves and booties and wetsuits, but it was really cold.
Oh,
But
I'm cold just thinking about it.
we must have been crazy, but when you need to go for a swim, you need to go for a swim.
Isn't that the truth?
That's true. um, Everyone that comes on the podcast, I love to ask the fast five. So just the first answer that pops into your mind, and
Okay.
not too onerous. Your favorite pool that you've ever swum at?
This is a tough one because there's so many, but there's one that's very top of mind right now, and it's the competition pool at Texas A&M University. The facility is beautiful. It's a fast pool, which swimmers know what that means. I have so many wonderful memories of swimming there at competitions when I was a kid, and and recently you had a guest on the podcast. Oh gosh, I can't think of his last name. The Fike swim guy.
Oh, James
Yes,
Fike.
yes, yes. I had been thinking about that pool and how much I wanted to swim there. And then I'd seen on social media he just did a competition there. And I thought, well, that's inspiring. He's swimming best times and he's at that pool. I want to swim best times. Maybe I got to go to that pool.
Yeah, yeah, it looks like a great pool. Do you enjoy kick or pool better?
Oh, kick. Kick,
Yes.
kick, 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 kick,
Kick.
kick. I love to kick, and I love to listen to music over a speaker, and you can hear it better when you're on a kickboard. So that's the funnest.
Yeah, definitely kick. What is your favorite pre-race meal or pre-training meal?
Well, Um, probably pasta. I love to, before my last couple of competitions, I've tried to have pasta the night before. I think that's probably more psychological than anything. I just like it. Before I'm swimming each day, I don't really like to eat before practice. So I've been making myself try to have like a smoothie, something that I feel like is going to give me a little bit of quick energy, but doesn't feel like I'm having to go through and eat a meal. And then I have a big lunch when I get done swimming.
Yeah. What do you put in your smoothie? What's your secret ingredient?
Well, I vary it. I actually, it's funny, I have an allergy to tree nuts. So I use peanut butter since I can have peanut butter. And then usually just whatever fruit and berries I have on hand, some bananas, and then maybe some greens if I'm feeling a little brave.
Yeah. Sounds nice. What about your favorite stroke? I think you mentioned that earlier.
Oh, it's freestyle. It's totally freestyle. And whether it's a sprint or a long distance, there's just something about it. Um, I feel really strong. It's just fun for me to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Freestyle, great stroke. And what's your favorite go-to training set?
Well, I like to do, I guess, what I would call repeat 100s. I think it's because it's a sort of measuring stick for me, and I get some nerdy satisfaction about knowing where I am. And I like to keep a lot of like data and statistics on my swimming. Maybe that's the professor in me. So I'll like to do, you know, uh, 5 100s or 4 100s or 3 100s or 2 100s, however many I can do on whatever the new fastest interval for me is. So that's been changing over the last couple of weeks. I'm now at the point where I can swim 2 repetitions of a 100-yard freestyle on 1 minute and 15 seconds, which perhaps is small potatoes for others, but it's been hard fought for me. So I'm very excited about that. 120 used to be really hard for me, and now 120 is easy speed. So I'm excited to see if I can turn 115 into easy speed and then set my sights on the next level down.
Oh, that's great. It's good that you're seeing improvement too, because I think that obviously inspires you to keep going.
Oh, totally, totally. You need those little signs that it's working.
Yeah, absolutely. Lynn, it's been lovely catching up with you today and connecting on the podcast. And really, really thank you for sharing your swimming journey and you inspiring me just with your excitement.
Oh, shucks. I'm so honored to be included. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. Take care. And hopefully, if I make it to the States one day, I'll do a training session with you.
Oh, certainly. I'd love that. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Okay, then. Take care.